Live, man. Respect my region. What's up? What's up? Good morning from Los Angeles, every folks. We've got a trans North American podcast episode today. We've got the West Coast meets the East Coast. We've got Julie here representing AIRO brands. You guys know I'm a big fan of AIRO brands. I go all the way back to the 2017, 2018 AIRO brands era in Washington. And so it's super cool, Julie, and it's an honor to be working with you and doing content that helps people discover quality cannabis from from coast to coast. And you specifically, you're the senior market manager for the Northeast up there. You're covering Rhode Island, you got Vermont, you got Massachusetts, or as I like to call it, Gassachusetts.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Massachusetts has some of the best weed in the world for sure. Julie, it's an honor to be here with you today. Thank you and good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Likewise. I really appreciate the light that you're shining on AIRO and all the products that you're showcasing.
No, I appreciate you. And, you actually came through in the clutch earlier this summer, fall. We were out there for Boston Cannabis Week. There's been a lot of great movement and motions happening there in Mass, right? And it's funny too, because I believe when I reviewed these Massachusetts products, I forget the strains right now because I've reviewed so many products, but they were fire. You guys have a collab there. I believe it's with this company called Ozone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Live resin products, distillate vapes, and you guys have a new item coming soon or just launched. So we're going to touch on a variety of things today. But first things, Julie, tell me a little bit about what you do at AIRO, what a day in your life is like as the senior market manager for a big ass brand that also started off, in the smaller market.
Yeah, absolutely. And although we are distributed in so many markets, we're in 27 states now, Puerto Rico, hopefully expanding internationally in 2025.
Woo!
Yeah. But a lot of good things coming. Although we are such a wide berth company, we are a small team through and through. There's only about 75 of us from top to bottom, and we work really closely. So we all work really hard day in, day out, just to keep the train moving. A day in the life in the cannabis industry is interesting. You never know what's going to come at you. It requires a lot of versatility, a lot of amazing people that really are behind what the plant does. And it's just a pleasure to work for AIRO, which really prides itself on our quality and the products that we use and that we source. And then just to work with like-minded individuals across the state is incredible.
Like you mentioned these individuals across the state, right? Like obviously Massachusetts, great. I feel like it's like my family away from my family here or like in the Pacific Northwest. It's like cold and outdoorsy, and then there's the city, and then there's the lobster rolls. You know what I'm saying? They got to get a shout out. I love the lobster rolls. The food in Massachusetts goes crazy. Like I'm just going to put it out there. And the people goes crazy too. Like I love it. The weed's fire. The culture's there. There's events that go on like consumption and B2B, and then there's all that stuff going on at the Summit Lounge. I mean, Mass is a fun time, but this convo, Julie, can't only be about Massachusetts and how great y'all are there and what you guys have going on there. We're going to touch base on Rhode Island today, Vermont, and of course, we're going to peel back a little bit of Mass. Now, let's go ahead and round out the Massachusetts part of it.
Sure.
I've been to a bunch of different retailers out there. I've seen your products. I've tried them. Talk to me a little bit about right now about the current state of AIRO there in Mass. What is the product lineup you have? Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're known for really across the country is our strain and our artisan series. Our artisan series are proprietary blend of terpenes to create our really well-known trademarked flavors like our Black Mamba, which is citrus and blackberry, or our Midnight Moon, which is black and blueberries. We use all natural botanical terpenes. And then our strain series is all strain specific. Again, all natural botanical terpenes. We go a step further with those where we analyze the flower that we're going to use with a mass spectrometer and basically break down the entire terpene profile of that strain. And then we rebuild it in those botanical terpenes. So it is a true to strain expression where you get a really nice flavor delivery on that. Then we also have our live flower series, which is again a distillate-based series with our cannabis-derived terpenes in there. All single source steam distilled terps. nice and fresh, nothing frozen. And then we also have our live resin oil, as you were mentioning, which is an excellent expression. We have really nice hardware that showcases the terpenes, use the stainless steel atomizer, so it really preserves that flavor and that expression while delivering a really nice vapor.
That C-cell hardware goes crazy for you guys. Let's
It
be
does. Yeah, it really does. And then we recently launched our AIRO X, which is our 1 gram disposable
let's
platform.
go.
Yeah, so it's an all-in-one, really nice, top of the line. Delivers right around the same amount of vapor as our regular vaporizer, which is pretty remarkable in a disposable. I have one right here, and I'm actually almost out of my oil completely.
Hey, look at
Yeah,
that. That's such a cool red, like all in one right there. I
yeah,
love that.
absolutely. Yeah, we have our strain-specific color-coded tips, which you're familiar with in our pod series as well. So we took that over and put it into our disposable. Then we have our see-through design, so you get your oil level rather than pulling your pod out. You're able to see it right there. But yeah, this I mean, I finished almost the whole entire 1 gram in my disposable, rechargeable as well, which is
Recharge is your other devices are I won't say stuck, but aren't they still micro USB, or is that wrong?
micro USB. Yeah, same thing with our AIRO X
Okay.
disposable. I
Thank you
know
for
that,
not. Thank you guys. Shout out AIRO. Thank you guys for not having us be USB-C and micro USB on two different
yeah,
devices. That would have been quite annoying. And so, although we are in a world where USB-C is that's the new thing, right, or whatever.
yeah,
Shout out Apple switching it from the charger to the speed, whatever, to the lightning
yeah,
strike or whatever. All of that. Point being, thank you for not having us buy a whole different one.
yeah. The
Love that.
AIRO is in for seamless utilization, so
Yeah.
I'm also thrilled about that.
I'm with that, man. I'm with that.
Yeah,
Like with the the Aero devices are a premium device, and so for the consumers that are out there watching, and for you ignorant buyers too, just because it's not on micro U or just because it's on micro USB and not on USB C doesn't mean it's not a premium device or they're not doing it. Like this is the cream of the crop hardware, and ultimately, I think there's when you think about like the growth of any brand, there's always a story, and in that story, there's always a number of minor changes that become a major over time. When you guys eventually switch to the updated version of these chargers, it's only going to improve the product at the end of the day. And I personally, like, half of the equipment that I use, even sitting here at my desk, is micro USB, USB C. And then everyone that comes over to my house with an iPhone is still on the iPhone 13, which is the Lightning Strike, right? And so it's
yeah,
like the world is using all these devices, and I think that's important to maintain that consistency, right? So that Aero X, that's what the product is, right?
yes.
What a dope name at the end of the day. What a cool ass name. Like, I'm a big Raiders fan, right? Or like, RMR X has a ring to it. Raiders X has a ring to it.
Yeah.
Aero X is sick. Okay. And like the way does that battery, does it come in different colors? I know the tips are different. Does the battery and the all-in-one come in different ones?
Not in the all-in-one. No, we just
Okay.
kept it pretty original.
I
As you
like
know, we
that. That
started off
color
with
kind of
slate
fades
gray.
into the top right there.
Yeah.
Like,
If
it's
there was
sick,
more oil
man.
in there, you can sort of see it, but you can see how it's a
Yeah.
clear see-through right through to the atomizer, which
Mhm.
is awesome. Yeah.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Now, you mentioned that those items for the disposable line, right? That's a distillate product with botanical terpenes, correct?
Yes, we
But
have
it's
a little bit.
custom formulations to recreate the experience that you're trying to deliver.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than just throwing some terpenes together and like you might find in a pineapple diesel where you taste it and like you get the pineapple, that's what it is. We
This
sort
isn't
of want
just
that
any
stuff.
terpenes company Maui Wowie or any
Exactly.
company's cherry kush. Like, you guys are breaking down. What'd you say? A spectrometer to
A
break
mass spectrometer.
mass
Yeah.
spectrometer to break
If you
apart.
asked me what it was, I don't know. I just know what it's called and what it does. It looks down in there and it gets to the juice of the flower and lets us know what to put into our cartridges to
That's
give the
sick.
same delivery.
I've heard about that kind of tool. It's big in the testing world. I don't know what it does. I just
Yeah.
know that it's one of the things in the it's the spoon or the knife in the peanut butter and jelly. I don't know which one it is, but it's
Exactly.
doing one of those
Yeah.
things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, okay, so Aero X, botanical terps, custom formulated by Aero and your guys' scientists and all that good stuff. And then you guys have these other ones. Now, you mentioned this one other product with the Massachusetts lineup. You called it the not live or live flower. Live flower. Okay, but then you said that it wasn't frozen, so it's not a live resin product. That's going to be a distillate oil with cannabis terpenes on it.
Correct. Yeah. Steam
Awesome.
distilled cannabis terpenes, strain
Oh, wonderful.
specific as well. So all of our live flower series, we work really hard with a farmer out in Oregon, and they source all of our cannabis derived terpenes. So they rotate seasonally, always fresh. So we're always keeping it fresh, keeping it rotating, trying to stay on top of current trends. You know, what strains people are looking for, what terpenes people are looking for. We really make sure that you get a full spectrum product at a reasonable price point with top tier delivery in our system.
It's because in this day and age, it's this balance between, and you see, I just did that nose itch thing again. I was telling you that. It came in, I was smelling the weed, and it made my nose tingle, man. I'm telling you.
I get that way too. My
Shout out
eyes start
Kyle.
to water. It's pollen.
Shout out Kyle. He made a cameo for my nose itch on today's episode. Oh my gosh. Now, here it is again. I got to get it. It's the weed. It's just making my nose tingle. I'm rolling a fire joint over here right now. Okay. So, I gotta be serious. So, in this world, Julie, of retail sales, people in cannabis, these consumers, they go in and they buy based on high THC. They get in and out. Indica sativa hybrid. Okay, cool. Which strain do you want? Whatever they're most familiar with, right? And then whatever version of that strain has the highest number, usually in the 90s or high 80s, right?
Absolutely.
It's just the reality, unfortunately. Yep. Now, for you guys, when I don't believe I tried that product from y'all in mass. I think I was given the live resin one specifically, and those were delicious. Like that Sunset Rosé from Ozone, I believe it was. Yeah. I literally made that last and brought it with me on all the trips for the next 2 months after that, and was part of my vape rotation.
Yeah, nice and citrusy. I love it.
Super delicious, citrusy. There's creamy, a little bit of gas in the back end. It was wonderful. Now, but the thing with that is that's a live resin product. So distillate's going to be this potency clouds, and then you guys putting these steam distilled cannabis terps on it. That's really got to jack the numbers up a little bit, right? You're in sales. How has that been performing for you guys in the market, selling a product that's distillate with cannabis derived terps? It's a potency meets terpene play. How has that been for you?
It honestly depends on the consumer. You are totally correct in that there are a lot of THC hunters, people who will only buy things that are high THC. But then you also see your connoisseur consumers who look for the live resins. And then there's some people, your live resin oil, because it's a true cannabis oil, it's going to have that classic cannabis smell. You're not going to be as discreet as a regular distillate product. So there are a lot of people that come into the dispensaries who maybe have tried live resin or a live rosin cartridge or disposable, and they're looking for something a little bit more discreet, maybe
a little bit quieter,
maybe something that doesn't hit them quite as heavy because our live resins and live rosins are more full spectrum. So our live flower is really great for the consumer that loves a true flower expression, that really loves the flavor of a live resin or a live rosin, but is looking for more of a functional daytime quick high in that way that distillate provides over a live resin or a live rosin.
Now, I almost forgot. We are 15 minutes in. I got to shout out our sponsor. Today, everybody, this episode is brought to you guys by Seedless Media, the cannabis industry's premier full-service marketing agency. And these guys utilize a lot of data. So I'm going to go into a slight data direction here. Now, you're slanging vapes. We're slanging a variety of oils there in Mass, Rhode Island, Vermont, right? And let's just be real too. In the grand scheme of cannabis in America, most people aren't paying attention to Rhode Island and Vermont. They're just not. It's a state in America that most Americans don't even know that much about. There's a lot of states like that, right? But I just woke up to an email, I want to say yesterday, might have even been today, that said something about pre-rolls being the third biggest category there in Massachusetts. Definitely. What do you notice about the velocity of selling vapes there in Mass compared to these other products? How do you feel about it? Obviously we're biased, right? Because this is what we pay attention to. But what do you notice there in terms of vapes and velocity and what these retailers look for ultimately?
No matter what, flower is king. That's what even the most basic consumer, their beginning knowledge of cannabis is that it's a plant, and you're going to go in, you're going to say, I want, I'm looking for weed. I want whatever I can get, whether it's an eighth, whether it's whatever amount that you want, whether it's a little pre-roll. So no matter what, flower is going to outsell any other product category. But I do find that vapes follow very closely behind because it is a really nice layover in terms of discretion, a little bit quicker. You don't have to worry about the stink. Oh, I love it. That's got to be a black mamba.
I knew I still had something over here. I was like, where's my vapes at? So yeah, like what you're saying, I'm sorry, flower is king and I would say
Yeah,
flower is king, queen, and everything in between. It's so
absolutely.
much more velocity than everything else.
Yeah. But I think that vapes are, I mean, if you split up flower and pre-rolls, I would say that vapes are top three. You know, they're right there intermingling in that. There is a
Mhm.
high demand for that, especially with like nicotine vaping. There's a lot of people who come from the nicotine space. Maybe they want to quit smoking. They want something that's going to maybe a one-to-one cartridge so they get a little bit of something, but it's not crazy. And their first go-to is a vape. So it's definitely up there, but it doesn't have the velocity that flower does. There's a really high demand on that THC count. So I think where we stand apart is our reliability. That is something that the vape space is lacking. You
Yes.
know, a lot of times you'll go in, you can buy any 510 cart and you're likely to have an issue. It's just what it is. A lot of the hardware is designed for nicotine oils, for the viscosity of cannabis oils. So I think that's where AIRO has really taken a step above, where we focus so heavily on our quality and reliability. We have less than 0.1% of all of our products returned nationwide, and we do offer a warranty on everything. So 12-month warranty on all of our batteries. So pretty much as long as you've bought your battery and you've held on to it, bring it back to a retailer, they'll replace it for free. I love it. I love the colors. And then all of our cartridges, we offer a 30-day guarantee on those as well.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we really stand behind it. Every retailer is going to vary a little bit different, especially with compliancy
Yeah,
laws. So
of
most
course, of course.
dispensaries in Massachusetts do like a 48 to 72 hour return policy, but we really
Because you're
stand
not
behind.
supposed to have opened product back inside the dispensary at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
exactly. So
And
some
having
places won't take it back at all. They'll just get you a new unit because they
yeah.
know that it's such a few and far between issue. But we really do stand behind our product, and most products that are sold never make it back into a dispensary unless they're coming back to buy another one.
Right. And it's like you got weather to deal with there. It's hot, it's
Yeah,
cold. We both know, you and I sell vapes. That does cause issues. It causes leaking
absolutely.
problems because of viscosity when it gets warmer. So,
Yeah.
I come from Seattle, you're in Mass, right? My experience, and this is a game that I've been sharing since I was a bud tender in 16. I figured it out, I'd say between February and March, or maybe March and April in Seattle. It would bounce and fluctuate out like weather-wise between the 45 to 60 degree days, and then you'd catch those random 70 degree days here and there.
Yeah.
That's when people would have problems, when it would fluctuate between warm and cold in the same day in a Washington market. And I honestly experienced an identical situation when I was in Mass, where having been there at multiple times throughout the year, leaving vapes. The number one rule with vapes is you're not supposed to store them in your purse or leave them in your car. You're not supposed to put them in places where they're sideways or where temperature fluctuates, right? And again, when it's warm, the oil gets thinner and it tends to leak. And then if it's still attached to the thing, and then when it's colder, it clogs because the oil hardens just like ice to some extent, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a very simple science thing, and a lot of people overlook that as the most common errors for return in vapes. It's in fact user error. But have you ever been told by Coca-Cola that you're drinking it wrong just because you spilled it on your, down your mouth? Like,
Yeah,
nah, right? And so it's this
exactly.
weird balance of like brands are not telling people like very often how to do it. And bud tenders, we know the deal. We want them to be more educated and trained better from a retail standpoint, but they're not very good at preventative advice, or what I
Yeah.
would say proactive preventative advice, which is like, oh, yo, man, tomorrow the weather is going to be like this. Don't keep that in your car. Like, imagine how much happier people would if we got that advice, right? And so I just
Yeah.
wanted to share that with everybody as we're in the middle of winter. Don't store things in your car. Don't leave it in your purse. Don't put it
Mhm.
anywhere where it's cold. Put it on your desk in a cup and have it be sitting straight up and down. Or get
Yeah.
yourself a little like pencil holder or something where you can put your cards in there. It's just ultimately going to preserve your money and mitigate the risk of you being upset with an item.
Yeah.
Uh, I live here in California. I was traveling with it, the vapes went out, through the airplane and things like that, which you're not supposed to do. I'm not co-signing you guys, let anybody do that. But I also noticed that I had issues when I was, again, putting it in environments that it should not have been in. And so that is standard for every vape, by the way. And so I just want to less than 1% return nationwide, bro. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Holy
across
cow.
vaporizers. That's across our vaporizers, our
And you got a
disposables.
30-day guarantee,
Yeah,
and you got the year guarantee with the hardware too. Like,
absolutely.
this is premium. This is cream of the crop. This is the top of the top, folks. I hope you guys get in tune with it. Now, Julie, we talked a little bit already about what you do and about Massachusetts. Now, before we end and switch over to the other states, shout out some of your go-to retail partners. You know what I'm saying? Shout out some of the whales. If I pull up here, how about this? Is that way you don't got to pick and choose? I don't got to set you up to piss some of your homies off or whatever it is. Let me just be like this. Yo, what's the first one that comes to mind in this situation? All right. I fly into Boston. Where am I going for AIRO?
Your nearest dispensary would probably either be Rise in Chelsea or Ascend in Boston.
Let's go. Okay. Shout out Rise in Chelsea and Ascend in Boston. Those are two great choices. Now, if I'm sliding up the coast and I'm going for a lobster roll, you know what I'm saying? I'm heading up to Maine. I'm going out that way. Where am I pulling up? Where do you recommend?
You could pull up to local cannabis in Swampscott, or we're at Fine Fettle in Rowley.
Ooh, shout out to Fine Fettle fam. I love the Fine Fettle fan. And I've never heard of the other group, so that's exciting. Shout out Discovering, right? Discovering new places to go. I love when I get recommended a place to go eat at or a dispensary to pull up on because there's some great people there, right? Yeah. Now, what if I go down to Plymouth? What if I go down and I'm trying to catch some history? I'm trying to smoke a joint with Christopher Columbus, which I wouldn't hang out with because I don't rock with Christopher Columbus. But if I wanted to go smoke a joint with his statue there at Plymouth, where would you recommend me go?
Zenleaf in Plymouth is a great spot. If you want to go a little bit further, we're also at Sublime in Mashpee.
Woo, Sublime and okay. Now, last one, and you're killing this, by the way, for a pop quiz on retailers. This, hey, in the
grand map in my head.
I was gonna say every sales rep has a map where all their homies is at, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go last two. Middle of the state. If I'm gonna go to Summit Lounge in the middle over there, where am I pulling up to?
You can either go to Mayflower in Worcester or Cannabis of Worcester, right on Millbrook
It's pronounced Worcester.
Yeah.
For those people that don't know, it's not Worcester like the sauce. This is Worcester. Right? And the other one that's tricky in Mass is Gloucester, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody else says Gloucester.
Everybody gets tripped up. We get a lot of interesting names up here.
I said, hey, I'm pretty good at saying things right after hearing it a few times. Shout out my name being fucked up my whole life. Now, the last one that I want to mention is if we go to Western Mass. Now, one thing that people need to know, y'all, about Western Mass is that people from Eastern Mass, aka Boston, they don't go over to Western Mass, and vice versa. They live in the city because they like the city, or they like the country because they like the country, and they don't really intermingle too much. And so, but it do be happening, right? And so, when you slide out to the Western Mass, where do you go first? Where's your what's first on your schedule when you're heading out there?
Either Honey in Northampton or Dreamer in Southampton. I got some homies at the Verb in East Hampton. Those guys over there. If you want to go even a little bit further west, we're at Divine in Vermont, which is basically the New York border. And if you go to Pittsfield, we're at Bud House in Pittsfield.
That's sick, dude. You know what's cool about the Northeast is that you guys have so many states around each other. It's not like this big ass area with obviously Texas and the South and some of these things have a bunch of stuff above them. But for the most part, the West Coast just got one or two things next to it. And it's like, what, we're going to Idaho? I don't think so. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Yeah. So you guys have New York, and then you guys got Maine and these other areas. You guys are surrounded by good weed. And that's just a great segue for us to talk about Vermont, right? Yeah. And Rhode Island. Now, I've got a friend, shout out my homies over at Trees. My homegirl Natasha's up there in Rhode Island. I hear that there's great weed there, and I hear really good things also. Obviously, Maine is up above it. There's a really good, strong craft market there that people talk about in Mass all the time. A lot of people go up there to buy it, to be honest, is what I hear. Yeah. But let's talk about the quality of Vermont and Rhode Island specifically. Now, as you said, flower, king and queen. So that's the reality with that. Can you touch on two parts? I want to know about your opinion on the thoughts of the flower in both those markets, and then I would love to know about the product lineups in each of those markets for you guys. Yeah, absolutely. So in Rhode Island, there's a lot of really great product. There's a ton of amazing cultivators in Rhode Island, a lot of small groups. Is it craft? Are we talking commercials? Is it MSOs? Who's out there? A little bit of everything in Rhode Island. It's a big melting pot. There's not a lot of retailers because the state is probably the size of my pinky finger. There's 7 dispensaries total. 7 or 70? 7. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a really,
that is a
really
unique situation.
small. Yeah, it's a really small market, but it really is a booming market. We partner with Sweet Spot Farms out there. They're located in Exeter, Rhode Island, and they're just an incredible partner to us. They produce all of our products. We have
Mhm.
our artisan, our strain, and our live flower series there as well. They only do half-gram options there, and then they have our half-gram AIRO X.
A lot of people would say that they like the half grams more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
it allows for a little bit more variety. You don't have to puff
yeah,
through a full gram. You can get a couple options and have a
yeah.
full gram. Yeah.
I,
So
I'm a fan of both of them. Obviously, depending on the oil type, some people are going to say one's better for oil versus the other, just the size of it. But I've always found that that is going to be dependent upon the hardware
yeah,
and the oil, the inputs going in. Obviously,
yeah,
Vermont though doing it right, in Rhode Island doing it, and so okay, so 7 dispensaries in Rhode Island, a
yeah.
variety of craft growers, but they're also, it's a mix of MSOs and the big dogs out there. Okay, and then obviously you guys are one of the big dogs now too. Now I don't multi-state operator, multi-state brand. I think MSB is the better fitting word for
Yeah.
you guys. And that's where I feel like you guys are real big on the collaborations that you do. We talked about Massachusetts and your guys' ozone partner and your oil partners across the country. I just want to shout out Peachy Hash over there in Michigan. That shit's fire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they do have great products.
Tell me a little bit about these partners that you got up there outside of ozone. You got ozone and mass. Who y'all working with in Vermont, and what does that look like for y'all in Rhode Island too?
So in Rhode Island, we partner with Sweet Spot Farms. They cultivate all of the product that turns into our oil. They have a really great operation over there.
That partner, that farm is not the same person that's manufacturing the items, like, are they extracting it? That's just
Yeah.
the farm element.
Yeah, so they do the farm and they also do our manufacturing, but
Okay.
yeah. So all of the product that they create is extracted and then put into our product. They just don't do the extraction themselves. The licensing is a little bit different in that state.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're working on getting us some developmental rosin. So hopefully we'll be able to launch some rosin products in Rhode Island within the 2025 calendar year. That would be super exciting. And then in Vermont, we work with a group called Korea Botanicals. Yeah, so Vermont is also another one of those multi-licensure states where our partner does all of our extracting and our manufacturing, but they don't do our growing. They also help us with our wholesaling. Vermont is an absolutely incredible market, very, very down to home, very crafty. There's very few MSOs in that state. They really want to showcase what makes Vermont special. And I think that is it's a beautiful market to be a part of. Challenging for sure.
My initial question here is
yeah.
and this is an ignorant question to ask because I don't honestly know, right? What does make Vermont special in the grand scheme of cannabis and the market and all that from your perspective? Again, in America, they don't do a good job of teaching people about other states and cities and stuff. And so
it's so true.
It's unfortunately the grand scheme of my knowledge about Vermont is from that tacky humor from Wedding Crashers about Vermont being maple syrup business people or whatever, because that was like what they did, like in the joke of like their Wedding Crasher story. I have no clue. I don't know the capital of Vermont. I can't name a city there. I don't know anything from there. I just know that it's chilling on a map up there. So what is good with Vermont?
Vermont is a beautiful state. They're the Green Mountain State, so they're known for their absolutely breathtaking forestry. Their commitment to sustainability is unbelievable.
I love it. Are they at the top of the Smokies or something? Are they up there in the mountain range? Does that get all the way up?
The Appalachian Trail goes through Vermont, so it's
all part of that. Okay.
That like group. It's the community up there is something that's really incredible. Lots of small towns with people who really work together. Like the sense of community is unbelievable. Yeah. Just like people who really want to do the right thing for the right reasons, where we see in a lot of our highly commercialized states like New York, Massachusetts, California, you see a really heavy merchandising footprint where a lot of dollars are spent on marketing and making the showiest kind of campaign that you can to to promote your product, where Vermont really takes the craft standpoint where they're not going to spend their dollars on a whole bunch of marketing. They also don't want people coming in and blowing up their state in that way. They want to keep small and true to themselves and sort of showcase what makes a product or a specific brand special rather than the amount of money that they can tote around. So it's a really, really special market to be a part of. Adopted into a store, into a community where they see that you're also just trying to showcase a product, maybe in a different way. So it's really nice. It's a little crazy, the difference between all three of the states that I work in. They really do operate like their own little countries. But at the end of the day, it's just good people trying to do good things with great products.
With the cards that they were dealt with their own legal system for cannabis, right? With their structure. I love that. And I think that's your perspective on that is important because you're truly boots on the ground, right? Like they say that, it's funny. They say that the bud tenders have the best perspective in the industry, but they're so blind to so many things outside of that store.
Yeah.
And so where I've noticed a lot of the most powerful perspectives come from is from sales reps like us in the space that visit numerous things. We ask the same couple questions consistently. That gives us identifying data or can help us identify patterns and things. And when you think about 7 dispensaries in Rhode Island versus however many there are in Vermont versus I think there's 300 or so or something like that
there's
in
like
Massachusetts.
346 in Massachusetts. And
versus like 1,000 in Oklahoma, another 1,100 or so in Oregon, and then I think retail licenses, regardless of them being active or not, is somewhere around 1,100 in California. It's a lot. It's a lot of relationships, and as you also said, and to quote you, they operate like their own in little countries, right?
Yeah.
That's true for San Diego. It's true for Seattle. It's true for Spokane. It's true for Portland versus Eugene, which is only 3-hour difference. It's just so true across all these markets, and so. Julia, I appreciate you sharing these thoughts because people need to hear that local is so different everywhere. And AIRO Brands is doing a phenomenal job of meeting the customer where they're at locally. And I want to say this. You said that Vermont doesn't want to see that flash. Small towns are in all these markets. And I'll also go back, if you look at history, not a lot of companies bigger than the Coca-Cola. Let's go back to the Coca-Cola metaphor, right?
Mm-hmm.
I go into bars, restaurants. I go into dive places that have been around. I just was over in Key West, which is like one of the oldest little places in the country, low key, down in southern Florida. And it's like everything that was Coca-Cola on it was like old and not flashy. And even to this day, it's still not as flashy as the bright lights that they could have gone. You know what I mean? And for how much money they have. And so there's a tactful way to really bring your brand to life in these individual markets. And I think that although AIRO is not the flashiest, I think in a lot of cases that benefits you guys because you fit right in on the shelf. Then you've got great product at a great price with quality local partners, both by law and by curation, right?
Yeah.
Who you guys decide to work with is based on a core ethos. I think that's really important. Now, one of the things that now that we've talked about the context with those markets, let's talk about the products you sell in those places.
Yeah.
What's the lineup for you guys in Rhode Island?
So in Rhode Island, we offer some of our artisan series, some of our strain, as well as our live flower series. So you'll see our heavy hitters like our Black Mamba. We have our Midnight Moon.
So the artisan series is the disty one, just to redo it. Yeah. I've taken 2 dabs now.
Yeah, so of course. Yeah. So our artisan series is our flavor forward botanical terpene series.
Artisan is flavor forward.
Proprietary blends of flavors. Yeah.
Custom formulated botanical terp creations like Black Mamba. And then the second one.
Strain series. So those are also botanical terpenes, but those are our strain specific, highly analyzed terpene blends that are true to strain and really nice flavor delivery on those. Okay. And then the live flower series is our distillate with our cannabis derived terpenes. Our
steam distilled terps, y'all. I love that. That's when the disty is there and the oil's gold, and then the potency's up there with the terps anywhere between 88 to the 96. Maybe I've seen 99 in some of those kind of products before. A variety of cannabinoids, a variety of terps, and then that high potency THC. It's a smacker, man. In some cases, it's funny. People that sometimes vape, people that smoke flower and don't vape that often say that they don't get high from vapes. It's the craziest thing to me. people that vape all the time can tell the difference between each one from
Yeah.
distillate and they even will say like, yo man, this fruity, this would use, this black mamba, right? Whatever it is, like, wow, that one actually got me high, and distillate never gets me high. And it's because each batch, folks, each batch of distillate, each batch of oil, it's extracted, right? And every time you extract, there's more or less THC, but sometimes there's other residual cannabinoids too. Things like CBG, right? Things like THCV. We see, Julie, how many times is CBD listed on packaging, and it just has that little like less than zero number, right? Whatever, like, I think that's like non-detect almost, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's always stuff in it, more or less. And so it just depends whether it's listed or not. But you guys got to understand, if you feel like you're getting high from a distillate vape, it's because there's other cannabinoids in it at the end of the day. And that's just the science of it, right? Then you get into the strain-specific things, and you talk about, okay, now you're trying to blend cannabinoids and terpenes to recreate something, right? That's a strain. And then you get into the live series, which is the potency meets the terps, right? That's going to be flavor and that THC punch to get it up there.
Yeah.
What about Vermont? What you guys rocking in Vermont?
In Vermont, we just have our artisan and our strain series up there. So we try and showcase our most notable strains. So we have our Black Mamba. Black Mamba you'll see in every single market that we operate in. There's definitely staples. And what's really great about AIRO is that the Black Mamba that you get in Vermont will be the same Black Mamba that you get in California, as well as the same Black Mamba that you'll get in Missouri. We really take pride in making sure that we have consistency across all of our products. And that you're going to get.
Is that done through just the terpenes, or through are you guys actually taking similar, we'll call it like distillate that has similar COAs, and kind of like maybe blending various ones to create the distillate experience plus the terpene experience?
So it's really just a combination of our quality control department, really making sure that the products that our partners are using to create our final product meet our standards and are within certain parameters. So that once it's blended with our blend of terpenes that we provide, we can make sure that we're guaranteeing that consistent product across all of our markets.
It's so, people say that that's impossible, right? And so I think that that's dope to be able to set reasonable QC. We'll call it just like bumper, like bowling bumpers. We're gonna set these bumpers within here. As long as it gets into here and we get it through that filter, whatever QC system that is, then we can do our part to create, to add in the other formulation variables, right? And deliver that consistent product. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Now, one thing that consistently happens to me as a sales rep, Julie, is I always get asked, yo, man, like, I need another order, right? Can you just build it out for me? Keep it below this number. You feel me? And then it's like, well, you start building it out, and it's like, okay, well, I know they need these ones. These ones are our bangers, right? And then it's like, yo, can you add in something new or something special, whatever it is, right? They're looking for that little bit of like, they give you a little bit of trust to do your thing, right? And so in this part of the conversation, I want to rely on you to make some trusted recommendations on AIRO based on, as if you're answering these questions for a buyer. You feel me? Or let's just say maybe you're meeting a stranger. You're at the airport and they like see AIRO and they're a fan because you're in motherfucking 50 states, right? And countries and all these different places. They're like, yo, I'm a big fan. Where can I go in Mass or Vermont or wherever, right? And what should I get? So what should people get? What is the Julie recommendation for top 3 products to get in Massachusetts, aka Massachusetts?
Top 3 products,
not brands, not flower from other people. What is the top 3 AIRO products they should get from you? Even it could be all from the same product lineup. You have the AIRO X right there. Maybe you love that one. What's your top 3 recommendations for people to try if they land in Massachusetts and they absolutely need to try some AIRO product?
So our bestseller nationally, I'm going to highlight it again, is our Black Mamba.
Black Mamba.
Blackberry. It's a banger. It's so good. I don't know if it's the name or the flavor, what it is, but it hits every time. So that one is definitely on the top of my list. I also love our Blackberry Cobbler. We have that our AIRO X disposable. That one's our strain series. So it is really nice and fruity, but it also gives a little bit of that earthy punch at the end, which is fantastic. So it's not overly fruity, which is awesome.
You said that Black Mamba is that's in the AIRO X too, right?
The Black Mamba is also in our AIRO X.
Let's give that Black Mamba. Let's put that into the AIRO X recommendation. So if anybody wants a disposable vape, right? A little quick, you're coming through, you're going to, you're going to go watch the Celtics, you want to catch a Red Sox game, you need the little You
Yeah.
know, that trick, right? That one's a great one to rock, the Black Mamba. And I also, too, guys, if you're going to specifically go to a Celtics game, I request that you get the Black Mamba and take it in the Boston Garden. All right? I'm going to request that. Shout out Kobe, you feel me? Now, what about the other lineup, the strain series you were just talking about?
Yeah.
What about the other two for Massachusetts, real quick?
Yeah, so our blackberry cobbler is definitely one of my top choices in our strain series. Super nice flavor on that one, nice and fruity without being too overwhelmingly flavored because it is strain specific. And then I think that another highlight from our strain series would be our cherry AK. That one's one of my favorites. That one's our sativa.
Mm-hmm.
Nice and fruity leaning in the beginning, but it also has a really nice gassy finish.
Wow. Okay. I love fruity and gassy strains collectively together. That's like my jam is taking something fruity, citrusy, or sour and putting it with some OG Kush or some permanent marker or something like that. Now let's slide up to these other states. We're going to take a quick trip and your guys' a quick drive up to the other states. What's your recommendation for Rhode Island? Top 3. Hot seat.
For Rhode Island,
and it can't be Black Mamba again. Everybody knows Black Mamba to the moon worldwide for AIRO brands. But what's the different one? What's the number 2 behind Black Mamba?
So what makes Rhode Island really cool, they are able to offer one of our live flower series, our lemon jet fuel gelato.
Ooh.
And it's the only state in New England where we have that available. So it is our live flower series. So super terpy, super delicious.
Let's go.
And that one is definitely a top favorite of mine.
They also smoke that gas, yo. I'm smoking that candy gas right now. Let's go.
It's really, really good. And then they also have our Blue Dream, which is our strain series. Really nice peppery, earthy delivery on that one, which is phenomenal. And then they also, what would I say for my third?
Right there, I'd be double fisting those two. I don't even need a third.
Yeah. I think that those are probably my 2 go-to.
Black Mamba.
Yeah, well, they have our Black Mamba, but you said I couldn't recommend it.
Oh, we got the first 2, but now we're struggling. You know what I'm saying?
I would say the Black Mamba would be the third runner-up there for sure.
And that one would be in the regular cartridge series, correct?
Yes, all of those are in the regular cartridge series.
Nice. Yep. Okay, now last but not least, let's go over to Vermont.
Sure.
All right.
So one of my favorite AIRO SKUs ever is our Mystical Melody, which is raspberry, lime, and tangerine. They have that one up there, which is super phenomenal. Yeah, they also have our Cherry AK up there, which is one of my favorites. And then they also, another of my favorites, is Northern Lights.
Oh, yeah, I like how you guys have a balance of new and throwback and classic. I think that's ultimately the way to go when you're doing vapes, is to have something that is reminiscent for the OG vapors, smokers, dabbers, whatever you want to say. But then also too, you got these fun fruity flavored chasers now.
Yeah.
Shout out the nicotine industry for making that happen. And now they need it, right? I keep raspberry tangerine,
raspberry, lime, and tangerine, Mystical Melody.
Oh, and the lime, I missed that one. Skimmed right over that one. That sounds delicious. Lime is one of my favorite flavors of things for sure.
Yeah, the Mystical Melody does a really great job. It almost gives like a airhead kind of flavor where it's like a light fruity.
Yeah. That sounds wonderful. Okay, folks. Yeah. Now I'm getting a little jealous because she has access to these things all the time out there. And so before we go any further, just again, big shout out to AIRO Brands for rocking with us on the North American Weed Tour. This tour, everybody, was all about showcasing quality cannabis companies, quality retailers. We've known AIRO for over 7 years. Over 6 years. It's somewhere between 6 and 7. I don't remember when I first met it. But my mom has been a fan of this brand for a long time. I've been a fan of the brand for a long time. I've helped sell it over the years through dispensaries in Washington. I've helped push it in California. We've helped promote it now, thanks to Annie and Abraham and you and Fred, the entire team support of Respect My Region. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to do this with us and to navigate this and to help empower and educate the people. There are people like me that wake up sick every day and they live somewhere where they can't smoke. And dabbing is expensive at the end of the day. Yeah. And so companies like you and humans like you that put in the effort to drive to all those places in Massachusetts, to dedicate your whole day, your whole week to just putting miles on the road and pounding the pavement. I appreciate what you do to help people that have to deal with the various things that truly take cannabis in a serious element, but I also too help appreciate you for helping provide the recreational cannabis element to it as well. There's a fun part to this. It doesn't always have to be all medical and serious. And Massachusetts goes hard. Y'all got fire. For Rhode Island goes hard. Vermont goes hard. I've heard great things about these areas, and so thank you for sharing, those insights today, Julie. I appreciate you for rocking with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for using your platform to help us promote our brand and really being an ally and showing everybody that we are what we say we are and that our products can stand for themselves. And I really appreciate you taking the time.
Let's go, everybody. And you all see the message today. Support women in cannabis. Make sure you guys support Julie, support Annie, support the AIRO brands, whole movement and what they got going on. Folks, this was episode 125 of the RMR podcast. I'm your host, Joey J. Ping. This is Julie. She's a senior market manager over there at AIRO Brands, specifically handling Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Vermont. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to get you guys connected. If you guys have any questions, what's the best way for them to reach out to AIRO Brands, Julie?
Yeah, you can go to airobrands.com. We have a contact us form. It's filtered through by our real humans in our customer success department. And then it's passed along, if it's pertinent to any of my markets, directly into my inbox.
Sick.
So if you have any questions or concerns, you'll be hearing from me.
Hey, y'all, make sure you guys reach out, aerobrands.com. Julie, thank you again for being here. If you guys have any questions, reach out, do your thing, talk shit about me, show love to them. But either way, we'll see you all on the next edition. Big shout out to our sponsor, Seedless Media. Big shout out to Annie and the whole team over there, Aero Brands, and we'll catch you on